Hey guys, still on the road to Sydney, and I thought I'd record a second video because I'm just having all these thoughts coming up in my head based on the conversations I've had with so many of you recently, and it's really important that we sort of get rid of some of these false notions, especially in the last 5 years that have crept up into the popular commentary around learning to code. Look, there's no one way. Okay, there is no one way. And we make a mistake when we assume that because there's so much information out there, that's valuable, okay? Quantity of information has nothing to do with the quality of the information. And you guys know this because I'm betting a lot of you spend a ton of time, trolling through Reddit or, LinkedIn or Twitter. Maybe you're even using it as a way to sort of divert your attention in some way. I don't know what it is, but there's so many blogs now about learning to code. That it's very hard for you to actually know what to focus on, right? The problem is not that you don't have enough resources. The problem is the exact opposite. You have too many, and you have too many conflicting opinions. So what happens when there's too much information? You get paralyzed, or you get hopelessly confused and overwhelmed. And the moment you get confused and overwhelmed, you're going to start feeling like you just can't do it. It's too hard. And it's not that coding is too hard. It's more that it's too hard to figure out what to do, right? So one of the things that I know I've spoken about in some of the other videos, but I'm going to talk about it again because it keeps coming up is, I'm not good at data structures and algorithms. Yeah, great. That's okay. What if you didn't have to be good at that, right? There is this false narrative by everybody who's selling, or you must try and get into a FANG company. Okay. Now, I know some of you are going to criticize me and say, well, Zubin, that's easy for you to say because you work at Google and you managed to change careers and go from being a lawyer to being at Google and getting offers from FANG companies. And so you can say that. Yes, but I was also saying this before I got offers from FANG companies, okay? What I was always believing was that there was this false narrative out there that you have to be in a big tech company. And not all of you believe it. I'm sure many of you don't. But I'm speaking to those of you who do worry about this, okay? You don't need to be in a big tech company to prove you're a good engineer, okay? In fact, the vast majority of good engineers in the world aren't in big tech companies, okay? The fact that you're in a big tech company or not in a big tech company is irrelevant because ultimately you've got to love what you do. And if you love developing and love engineering, as long as you're working with a good team and a good product, you'll do it. So where do data structures and algorithms fit in? Well, they're just a way for big companies to figure out whom to hire when they have thousands of applications, okay? For other companies, maybe smaller companies, younger startups, for example, they care much more about whether you're able to be the kind of person who fit in with the team, who has basic or pretty advanced knowledge of whatever kind of code they need you to write, okay? There's no point being a React expert if they're going to be using something else completely different. Or, there's no point being a Node and Express expert if what's being used in the company is Django. Of course, you can learn all these things, but as a hiring manager, I would probably focus more on the people who could hit the ground running and start being effective early than say, okay, that person's really smart. I may not have the time to invest 6 months in their learning, right? So you've got to make sure that you pick the kind of roles where you're a good fit and where you can prove you can add value. And maybe, in fact, most likely you won't need data structures and algorithms. For the first 4 roles that I got offered, I did not have to do particularly advanced data structures and algorithms at all. I would say probably easy level at most, okay? But most of what I was tested on was my communication, was my ability to interact with people in the team, was my ability to actually write code that they needed me to write for the business to advance, okay? So that's point 1. Please don't get obsessed with this data structures and algorithm stuff. If you're a career changer, I would argue that that's a waste of time, okay? That's useful for when you want to get to from your second or third job to your 4th job, if that's got to be in a big tech or big fancy company. But for your first and second job, I would say get industry experience, much more important, okay? The second point, a lot of people are obsessed with the idea of learning to code for free, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that because there are free resources out there. But I would encourage you to not just learn to code for free if you can afford to do something about it. And the reason is this: just because you can get something for free, A, it doesn't mean it's valuable. B, it doesn't mean you're a fool to pay for it. Okay? Just because something else is available for free and you decide to pay for it to fast track it, that's just you using your resources. Okay? So don't hold on to money just because other people have learned it for free. You don't know what their circumstances are. And the reality is, it is not free. Okay? If you don't pay money, you're going to pay in time, which means it'll take you maybe 2-3 times more. The duration is going to be 2 to 3 times more than what it would be if you paid for help. Perfectly fine if you don't have cash, then spend the time. But if you do have the cash and then you decide to spend time, you are at grave risk of giving up. You're at grave risk of learning the wrong things. You're at grave risk of learning things that become obsolete in 3 years. How many of you are still trying to learn Ruby in 2021? Right? Perfectly good language, still in wide use, but not many new projects seem to start with it. Why would you do it then? Why would you go to a boot camp that's teaching you Ruby, for example, right? So no point in saving money if you're going to waste a whole lot of time. So just because other people can do it for free doesn't mean you should too. Please don't adopt a cheap mindset to your life. If you don't invest in it, you're not going to get the returns, okay? A return on an investment of 0 is always 0. So you have to be pragmatic. If you've got the resources, spend whatever resources you have. Maybe you guys are younger, have more energy, or maybe some of you don't have families yet, and so you have more time. So you mix and match your 3 resources. Your 3 main resources are energy or effort, time, and money. If you have the money and you can spend it to save the time, then it's exactly the same as flying to your destination, or like I'm doing right now, we're driving, but we could have, in theory, ridden our bicycles all the way to Sydney. Okay, it's 1,000 kilometers, but it's possible, right? Why would we do that? Or if we wanted to fly, we could have flown. We decided to do a road trip. But the point is, usually you fly to save time, even if it costs more money. That's just the nature of the beast, okay? So don't be cheap about your own career. These are the 2 points I really wanted to share with people. If you liked it and you had any value coming out of this, have any thoughts, please put it in the comments. Even if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear it. Let's engage in a conversation that's actually meaningful for all the other people who are watching and reading this. And if you like it and you want to know more hard truths that are coming out soon, please subscribe to this channel. Speak soon.